Communication, I think, is a skill. It's something that you have to develop within yourself.
All right, thank you for joining me for another episode of Briggs Podcast. Today, I thought I would bring you somebody who actually taught me how to communicate with people. And again, this project is a YouTube project that I'm doing. I want to find out how we can better communicate as human beings. And that person, obviously, would be my mother, Elizabeth Cunningham. How are you doing?
Hi, doing great.
This is a pretty cool library you have here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, I thought you'd be wonderful to talk with. I talk about what's new, but what I would like to talk about is 3 episodes you had in your life. You know, growing up with some of these stories. One of them was a meteorite that you saw when you were younger. And now UAPs, everybody's talking about it online. There's all this stuff now.
Yeah.
And so that's some stuff you had some experience with. We won't get into your dad's background, my grandfather. But he worked in this field. That's about all we'll say.
That's good. Yeah.
um,
Well, he
so
designed missiles, we'll put it that way.
okay. So let's talk about the meteor. Was it a meteor?
Well, it was a meteor. We think it was. It was in March of 1957. My mother was out of town at my grandparents', and it was just me and my dad at home. This is in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And we just turned off the TV, which was around 10 o'clock, to go to bed. And I was in my room going to bed. My dad was locking up the house when all of a sudden, outside, the night started getting brighter and brighter until it was daylight. Total noon daylight. It was just a slow process that came. My entire bedroom was open like it was in the middle of the day. What I remember specifically was how blue the sky was. The sky was so blue. I have in Louisiana, I have a lot of clouds, but this was a beautiful blue, and I could see the trees in our backyard. But what got to and then the daylight slowly went away as night came back in. It was just and the birds that I'll never forget. The birds went nuts and chirping and squawking and chirping and squawking like, whoa, they knew something was weird going on. And they must have squawked for about an hour after that, couldn't go to sleep. Of course, I was anxious about what we had seen. My dad came running into the bedroom saying, well, and he had a nervous laugh and he says, I wonder if the world's coming to an
Oh
end.
no.
And it was like, oh. So it was hard to go to sleep that night. And nothing was said about it the next day. And it was years before they still don't know if it was a meteor or not. A lot of people saw it in southern Louisiana. It's on the internet now, and it's called the Great Meteor of 1957. But that thing must have been huge for it to be daylight, bring daylight, so much light that it was so bright. And they say that they think it landed in the Gulf, but they've never been able to find any fragments of it or anything because it would have kind of dissolved and some of the parts could have floated up on shore and nothing has yet. So they're saying it's a meteorite, but who knows?
Wow, that's amazing. And the birds were chirping, so the
Oh,
birds
the
were
birds were
really
going
confused.
nuts.
Yeah, because they
So,
usually don't start doing that until the sun rises, right as the sun peaks. You know, if you're ever
oh,
camping or anything, that's when the birds start talking, and so that
yeah.
must have really confused them.
But this was just they were chattering. They were like, what's going on? What's going on? I don't know. I don't know. It's not time to get up yet.
Yeah. Let's talk about when you were little, and you're with your mom, and you saw something floating in the sky.
Yeah, I remember telling you this story when you were about my age and you were like, wow. But this happened about 1952, 53, 54. I'm a young girl, I'm 10. I'd never heard of what a UFO was. I barely knew what little green men from Mars was. I had no idea, but I'm in the backyard with my mother. She's pruning her rose bushes. She looked up in the sky and went, oh, gasp. And I looked up, and there in the sky was this object, maybe about 100 feet high over us. It wasn't a plane, it wasn't uh, a helicopter. In fact, it looked like some type of automobile, some kind of car. And I thought, how'd that car get up in that sky, Mom? And she grabbed me and she pulled me behind her and said, don't look at it. We're going inside. And she starts pulling me. We're going inside. And I'm looking around her, looking at it. And here it is, goes over here that fast to the neighbor's house. And it's hovering over there. And it kind of looked like, I'm going to say maybe a Volkswagen, but I didn't know what a Volkswagen was in those days. But then it hovered there for a minute and it went straight up into the clouds. It was gone.
Wow. Did it make any noise?
It made a humming sound, just slight hum. And so my mother called my dad and she tried not to be concerned so it wouldn't excite me. And I didn't know what it was. I just thought, you know. And my dad came home. And I remember my mother sitting on the couch with him and she's drawing him a picture of what she had seen. And he took that and went to the Lake Charles Air Force Base. He knew one of the colonels there really well. And all the colonel could tell him was, yep, but it's under investigation.
Wow.
That's all they would tell him.
Wow. What color?
Under investigation.
What color was it? Do you remember?
Chrome.
Chrome?
Mm-hmm.
Did it
Hey,
like shine, or was it like a doll?
well, the sun was hitting it and it did shine. I mean, it looked like it was polished.
Did it have any windows?
I don't remember. I mean, I'm looking at it from behind, being dragged by my mother, looking from behind her up at it, and she's telling me, "Don't look at it." Why?
What I find amazing is, again, your experience that you had. Most people that I have talked to that have had these experiences have had a idea of what a UFO looks like because of the movies they grew up with, the books they read. So this, what I find amazing about this is you had
I had
no
no
frame of
idea.
reference. That
I,
is
I had
wild.
no idea. I've often wondered because my lack of memory is so slight because I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know to pay attention to this. My mother didn't want me to see it. Um, I wonder if I ever got hypnotized. Could I bring that memory back? But I don't want to get hypnotized.
That'd be
Lord knows
interesting.
what I would say.
A whole story about going for a ride, and
Oh, yeah.
that'd be pretty wild. What about there was a second time you saw something. I think you were in White Sands, or
Yeah, I lived in Tularosa, New Mexico, which is next to White Sands. And one day we saw this object up in the sky, and it was like a cigar look. And it just stood there and it kind of moved slowly, and the sun was hitting it. And then all of a sudden it turned and was gone. Just like that, it was gone. And I'm thinking, wow, that kind of reminds me of something, but I let it go. And we asked some of our neighbors about what was going on and told them what we saw. And they said, oh, that happens all the time. We're next to White Sands. Happens all the time. And I says, well, what if we went and reported it to someone at White Sands Base? And he says, it won't do any good because they'll tell you it's under investigation. How many times have I heard it's under investigation?
Investigation. That's pretty. Now, what did this one look like? Was it what color was it?
It was chrome,
Chrome. Was this one? Did you say this one was like
a
a?
cigar. It was long, but
Okay,
I didn't see a dome.
so it was just this.
But
And
the
people said they've
sun was
seen
hitting
things
it.
like that
Yeah,
before
the
too, which is
sun was
wild.
hitting it, and it could have. I don't know. I just looked up. There it was. Shoot, toom. It was gone.
That's amazing. That's
And
amazing.
I talk about it, and people laugh at me. Yeah, sure, Liz, right? But years, after what happened with my mother, we didn't talk about it for a long. I mean, many years. And one day we're watching TV, and they were talking about UFOs, and they were showing some of these dome pictures of what people described. And she sits there and she says, now I saw something like that a long time ago. And I said, oh, really? And I said, I think I saw it with you. And she says, do you remember that? And I said,
Wow.
vaguely. So what she saw was exactly what had the dome, had the round
Wow.
bottom, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That seems to be the one that people are spotting. There's also claims now of um, people your generation that are getting older now. They're getting into their 80s and they're talking about their experiences. And some of them are now claiming that we had the technology in the 50s and that maybe they were
We didn't
test
have it
piloting
then.
those. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about that.
Uh, well, if you didn't know something, you flat didn't know it.
Yeah,
So it didn't matter
yeah, that's true.
until something was brought to your attention and you would learn about it and speculate on it. But no, like I said, I had no idea what a UFO was. I had no idea what I was looking at. It really didn't concern me, except I thought it was a car, an automobile, and how did it get up there?
Amazing,
That's the only thing
amazing.
I vaguely remember
Can you
about it.
see it if you close your eyes? Can you see it in your mind's eye
Hmm.
like it was yesterday?
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. That is amazing.
Well, the more I think about it, the more I think, all right, try to remember more. Think, try to remember more.
Yeah.
But
Wow, that's amazing. Um, with all your years, you grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and then you went to college in New Mexico.
well, we moved to New Mexico when I was 14.
Okay, so you went to high school,
High school, college.
college.
I consider Albuquerque, I guess, more than anything, my hometown. Spent more time there. I loved Albuquerque. It was funny going from a humid southwest Louisiana to a very dry Albuquerque, New Mexico. I mean, they're total opposites. But I love the dryness. And we went back the following summer to Louisiana, and I thought I was going to die. It was just too humid. I thought, how did I stand this all these years I lived here? Couldn't believe the humidity. It was awful.
Yeah, yeah.
So Albuquerque's my home.
When you were there and you were in college, you fell in love with doing art. One of your best friends, Helen Hardin, who was a famous Native American
Right.
artist, who unfortunately you lost early on in life. But with her inspiration and spending most of your life just doing all types of different types of art, whether it's painting or dad cutting out stuff for you and stuff like that. You're communicating with people,
Yeah.
with this art. Um, which brings us to the main question of the podcast. At your age now, you've had a full life. How do you think we can better communicate as human beings?
Whew, that's it's really a good question. And actually, communication, I think, is a skill. It's something that you have to develop within yourself. Um, and you certainly want to learn how to treat people the way you want to be treated. Um, and I think too, you need to ask if they're talking about something, you need to listen to what they're saying. Be very active in listening to them. Even ask questions. Even if you disagree with them, give them the opportunity to finish what they're saying. Another thing is your tone, your verbal tone. I mean, if you talk like this at somebody, you're going to tick them off, and that's not going to work. Oh, and watch your gestures, like crossing your arms or rolling your eyes around. Be careful of that, not to offend them. Um, One thing I have learned in over the years is that if I can say something to that person and say it to them to where they like themselves, they're going to like me. Because I got them to like themselves. I can say something nice about them or to them, even though I don't disagree. And you need to put a boundary, I think, around your emotions, because people put boundaries around theirs, and you don't want your emotions to run off with you. So basically, you have to develop a skill, and you need to do it within yourself.
And now you know where I get it from. That's fantastic.
Well, basically, I remember when you were growing up, we would go, and I enjoyed it so much. You were little, you're 9, 10, maybe 12, up until you were in high school. We would go to Smitty's, which was a grocery store restaurant.
Best pizza ever.
Yeah, and we would sit there and we would talk, and I would ask you questions, and you were so open. And the thing about you, which made me so proud of you, is that you had so much compassion for other people. You really cared about other people, you cared about what they were saying. I just thought, where did he get that from? Probably from his dad. No, he didn't.
I'm
Got it
sure
from me.
I got his laugh. Yeah. Oh, that's thing. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, no, I got it from you. 100%. 100%. When you again at your age now as an individual, when you look out here, we're swimming in, science has changed so much, even in your lifetime, with just, a microscope being able to look down at the atomic level. Now we're looking at this thing called the quantum level, which is making the atomic level. And then there's something behind that. What do you think in life, philosophically? What do you think is going on out here?
I have no idea.
That's a great answer.
I have no idea. It's like, okay, folks. But does it really matter? I mean, you got to live with whatever is going on, and you've got to adjust to it. You can't blow it off. So, regardless of what is, I think it's amazing at how science has progressed over the years, how much we have learned about ourselves, um, about our planet, maybe about the solar system. Which reminds me, the other day they had something on TV about a planet way out there that was similar to ours. Looked like it had an ocean, looked like it had landmass. But guess what? That picture they said, is about 2 million light miles away. So, what I am looking at maybe is a picture of something that was taken 2 million years ago. Is that planet still out there? I mean, this to me is amazing stuff. The science and astronomy, and so, and I know you were interested in it too.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah, always.
you would talk about it when you were little, and I just let you go on, and I was so proud of you too.
Well, thank you so much for letting me be open as a kid. I appreciate it. Well, thank you so much for
Well, thank you.
being on my podcast and sharing some of your stories. And we'll have it up soon.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thanks for watching.
Love you.